Welcome to another broadcast by the UK Medical Freedom Alliance, the UK's most recognised and respected organisation advocating for every individual's right to informed consent, bodily autonomy and medical choice. We are the UK's voice of ethical medicine. Well, hello everybody and welcome to the UK Medical Freedom Alliance. My name is Ian Humphreys and today I'm joined by our CEO, Dr. Liz Evans, and she's been on a very exciting trip and I'm going to let her tell us all about it and I'll interject when I've got questions, but I'm just going to be fascinated, I think, by the whole experience really. Is it how you took off, how you got there, what you did on the flight on the way over, what you did on the way on the way back, and then everything you did in Australia. And yeah, we'll cover it all because I think it's going to be very exciting to hear about. So Liz, thanks ever so much for coming along and welcome back to the country. And I hope you're not feeling too jet lagged.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think I've got the secret to jet lag, so I'll share that later on. But yeah, good day, everyone. Fresh off the plane yesterday morning from Australia. I had a really amazing couple of weeks. Has to be said, Australia is my favourite country in the world, apart from this country. So it feels like a home from home going there. So I've been there twice in my life. I spent 3 months there when I was a medical student doing my clinical attachment at Royal North Shore Hospital and fell in love with Australia. And then as a family in 2018, 2019, over that Christmas, we went and travelled around for a month, which was really fun. And then last year I was offered the opportunity to go again. And so I thought, well, perfect time of year, January, height of summer there, and I can escape our winter. So I got on a plane just over 2 weeks ago and spent 2 weeks in Australia. Spent a week in Byron and then I travelled down with a friend to Tasmania. And so the reason I was there is related to medical ethics. Hence, we're going to talk about this on the medical ethics report. So basically, I went to celebrate the annual sort of birthday of the Cape Byron Lighthouse Declaration, which is a declaration of medical ethics that was put together in, it's now 3 years, third year anniversary. So it would have been 2023, the beginning of 2023 is when this was launched. And it was launched by a number of Australian medical professionals. So we've got here on your screen, we have on your left Dr. Paul Oosterhuis, who is a consultant anaesthetist and critical care physician, and he was suspended by his Medical Board of New South Wales in September 2021 for Facebook posts opposing the government COVID policies. And then in the middle, we have Ros Nealon-Cook, and she was a registered psychologist until in the same month, September 2021, she was suspended for releasing a video raising serious concerns about harms to children from the government COVID policies and the jabs. And then their colleague on the right is Dr. Rob Brennan, who is was a psychiatrist, but he was suspended for heading up something called the COVID Medical Network, which was a network of concerned physicians who were opposing COVID policy. And he wrote several articles on their website and distributed some flyers to the public. So he was suspended. So basically, they all came together. They didn't know each other until they were all suspended and decided that we needed a declaration of medical ethics to try and gather, and also to try and then gather together more people who were being censored in the healthcare arena. And they wanted to uphold free speech, professional autonomy of doctors and healthcare workers, that they could uphold their duty of care to the public and patients. And also, they were very concerned about the COVID jab rollout to protect informed consent and medical choice. So I'm just going to.
What reason was given for their suspension? Was it similar to the kind of reasons that have been given to the doctors here?
That is a really good question. I think they were what I realised when I was in Australia and talking to these doctors and other healthcare professionals is it was way more draconian than here. It was absolutely, the governments and the different states were absolutely gunning for anybody who raised any sort of concerns. I mean, everybody, or not just the healthcare workers, but many, many other jobs were under mandates for COVID vaccines. So, and there were no exemptions. You basically couldn't get an exemption. So many, many healthcare workers were effectively forced vaccinated against their will if they had to have their job to look after their families. And many have left the profession. So these guys that I've just introduced you to, they've never gone back. They're no longer practicing, which is absolutely devastating. I met another doctor who had to give up her license. So she wasn't suspended, but she gave up her license where basically the mandate said, you're going to be suspended. So she did it first. And she was speaking up about the vaccines too. So I think Australia took it to another level from here. It felt like...
It's interesting, though. I think maybe they've shot themselves in the foot because given the data, which I've actually been reporting on as part of our medical ethics report, so that will be coming out either before or after this video. I'm not quite sure yet, but one of the items in there was around the data about the fact that COVID was supposedly kept out of Australia due to their draconian lockdown measures.
Mhm.
However, people still got very ill as a result of being injected with the vaccinations. So it's they still had a COVID of sorts going around, but after the rollout of the jabs, which is
Yeah, and I think their data has been really, because it's quite a small population, and because, as you say, like when COVID started, it was their summer, so there was no respiratory illness around. Obviously, they locked down all their borders. I mean, this was a prison island for years. Especially for those who didn't get vaccinated, because I think they opened the borders after a couple of years, but then only to the vaccinated. So the psychological pressure was immense on the population, because lots of people there have families in the UK or families in New Zealand or even in other states. You couldn't cross the state borders. It was really, really nuts. So
in some places they had almost like prisons. I mean, they claim they weren't prisons, but they essentially were. They were fenced off areas with small rooms where people were deposited if they were shown to be unvaccinated.
yeah, and then there was talk of forced vaccination of some of the Aboriginals in the Northern Territories. I mean, it was so horrific at the time, and I feels like, but they came from a culture where they already had mandatory vaccinations for schools for many, many years. And it's quite interesting because having stayed there and traveled for a month before COVID, the first place we stayed as a family was somewhere called Quarantine Station, which is on Manly Head, which is the head of Sydney Harbour. And basically, it was the place that the settlers who came over from the UK in their ships, they would be put on this into this sort of like quarantine area, which was right on the headland, well away from the city, where they had a sort of a makeshift hospital. They had huts. It's a very good place to stay. I'd highly recommend it. It's sort of been turned into a hotel type thing, but you're staying in the original huts and you see the hospital accommodation and you read the history. And basically they had to stay there for 6 or 8 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
And you either lived or died. And it was only the ones who lived that were then allowed into the city. So I kind of feel that in their psyche of their culture is this idea that because they're so isolated as a country, as an island, that they can keep all disease out. And so I think they were easy prey to this, idea of zero COVID, because they'd done that in their history, or they tried to do it. So you have this, this country culture where you have people, I don't know if you watch Bondi Rescue, but, people get in these crazy seas with these ripped hides, and the lifeguards are always running in and saving drowning people. And then you've got the sharks, you've got the snakes, you've got the crocodiles. So it appears to be a country that's not fearful and, faces danger a lot because it's quite inhospitable in many ways. But yet in the face of a germ, it's a whole different kettle of fish. Suddenly health and safety goes mad.
They're only brave with things they can see.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting. So I'll just show you the declaration that they wrote. So hold on, I'll go back. Sorry, this is going to be a bit.
No, that's fine. Just quickly, where is it situated? The lighthouse.
Oh, yes. So Byron Bay is or it's just at the top of New South Wales, just below Brisbane, because obviously
Right.
Brisbane's up in Queensland. So it's kind of semi-tropical, beautiful place. It's a sort of hippie surfer mecca, quite into alternative health. And the lighthouse there called Cape is on Cape Byron, and that is the most easterly point of the Australian mainland. So, beyond that is South America.
Right.
So it's quite a sort of significant place, I suppose, spiritually, for Australia. So this is the declaration. So it's very, very simple. The first point was that all silencing and censorship by bureaucrats and regulators, including of experienced practitioners and scientists, must stop. There must be respect for every individual's right to freedom of opinion and expression. The second point was the right to informed consent must be upheld and must include being fully informed of relevant risks as well as any benefits proven or presumed. Thirdly, that mandates and other forms of medical coercion are unethical and must cease, that bodily autonomy is the inalienable right of every individual and must be respected. And finally, that there is an urgent need for transparency and reform in science and medicine and to halt the increasing globalization of public health. We demand the restoration of voice and decision power to individual practitioners and to those they serve. And you can sign up to this declaration either as a healthcare professional or a member of the public on their website. And I would really encourage you that at the moment there's 18,000 signatures, but it's a very heavily censored and hidden initiative, which they have discovered over the years. It gets a lot of censorship on all the social media platforms. I was trying to do a post about this meeting I went to there, and I couldn't get it up on Facebook until I took out the words and any links to Cape Byron Lighthouse Declaration. So the powers that be do not want people to know about this. And then so what happened after they set up this declaration is they started to appoint lighthouse keepers. And they started in Australia. So they would call someone a lighthouse keeper who'd been a beacon of light for medical ethics. And all of who had been censored, maybe who'd been struck off or suspended. And so they started off with a few Australians, and then they started to reach out to international doctors and healthcare professionals. So I was asked to be one, I think, the following year. There are now, I think, 8. I'll just read out. I've written down somewhere how many lighthouse keepers there are. So we've got, I think there's 8 in the UK now. There's 8 in the Americas. There's 8 in Europe, and there's 13 in Australia. So that's 37 in total. And they're now starting to expand beyond healthcare. They've brought in a lawyer who's done huge work on the Pfizer data and cases to do with the vaccine injured in Australia. He's called Peter Pham. And they've brought in an economist, a professor of economics called Gigi Foster, who's also working really hard on this. So I think they're sort of opening this up, and they want this, this to be an international initiative where people together just say, enough, there are red lines here. And of course, this is exactly what UK Medical Freedom Alliance stand for.
Right.
So I was really, really happy to sign up to be a lighthouse keeper. And I would encourage people to go and look on their website and sort of see what they're up to. They've been doing, so they do roundtables. They've done a recent roundtable, and I'm just going to show you the picture of this because this has been unbelievably censored. So we need to get this out organically. Let's just go slideshow, current slide. So it's called Fertility in Crisis. It was recorded very short time ago, I think in the last 2 or 3 months. Interestingly, I hadn't even picked up on it, and I'm a lighthouse keeper, and I'm kind of on the chats. So, it's not being seen on social media, and it really should be seen. And they have 6 experts. You've got Renee Lau, who's on the top left. She's a geneticist. you've got Ros Jones, who everyone knows, our beloved UK paediatrician. We have Hannah Parika, who's an IVF biologist in Finland. Then there's Professor Gigi Foster, who's this Australian economist who's become a lighthouse keeper, and she's chairing the meeting. Fiona Marlowe, who is a suspended Australian midwife. And the bottom right is Dr. Kimberly Biss, who is a very highly experienced and decorated US obs and gynae consultant, chief of staff of a hospital, clinical lead of she's been a doctor for over 30 years. And you may have heard of her because she's recently been appointed to ACIP by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., which is really exciting. So they did a roundtable looking at all the data on the fertility and trying being caused, or the links to the COVID jabs, and how concerning this is. So that is really worth a watch, and is a great initiative. So yeah, that was good. And actually, so Kimberly came along to Byron, so I got to meet her, which was fantastic.
Okay.
Ros was there. And then we were the only international ones, the three of us, and then the rest were Australians. So yes, we have this, they have a sort of a week, which is meant to be a sort of a chance to recuperate, to network, to relax. But also we had this, we had a big dinner. So to meet people, to network, they gave out, a few little awards. We also recorded so hang on, I'm going to show you some photos because I thought this was a great chance to show some holiday photos because I have a captive audience.
I hope everyone's sitting comfortably.
Hang on, let me just, so I will show you the photos. Okay, and share. Okay. So here we have top corner, that's Ros and Paul and Rob, the organisers of the Lighthouse Declaration, speaking at the dinner. Then we have Ros Jones and her husband, who's also a doctor, Jeff Maidment. So that was us hanging out and sharing stories. And then on the bottom left, this was at the dinner we had for the lighthouse keepers, and we have Kimberly and her husband, and we've got Paul, Ros and Rob, and then me and Jules Sladden, who's another, she's an Australian doctor who has become a politician, or she's doing lots of political stuff, but she had to give up her license because she would not have the COVID vaccine, and she was speaking out about it. So she lost her practice, which is really sad. And then the next morning we went up. So this is Cape Byron Lighthouse. And we went up before dawn. So it was a very early start, to see the sunrise, and then, had a international Zoom call with other lighthouse keepers from the top of this place. And basically for an hour, everyone was sort of sharing the news and showing what was going on in their countries, and, sort of, really strengthening these international bonds and connections, which I think is really important because a lot of people have been very ostracized and censored and silenced. And so just to be able to keep this network going and to support each other's work is really important. And then we also had the chance to go on a show that I've not heard of. I don't know if anyone follows Club Grubbery, but they have a really big platform in Australia, apparently. And it's two guys. There's Jono, who's on the top right. And then the other chap is called Graham Hood. Now, you may remember his name. He was the Virgin pilot who came out and basically refused to have the COVID jabs and was telling stories about the damage that he was seeing. Now, I'm trying to remember whether he was the one who actually got injured by it, because there was various people at the time, but he was a pilot who's been very, very vocal in his opposition to the COVID vaccines and tried to raise awareness. And they now have this sort of regular podcast once a week, I think, called Club Grubbery. So do look that up. And they spent an hour talking to me and Roz and Kimberly about fertility in crisis, about the Lighthouse Declaration. So yeah, that was another really lovely event that we had.
I certainly remember Graham. I've sort of seen him do presentations all over the place, and he did a big one for the doctors for medical COVID ethics as well.
Mhm.
So I think he's been quite vocal around, been quite a few various podcasts around the world. I don't know, I'm not sure I'd recognise the other guy, but he's a bit familiar. I think they might be on something else as well, actually.
Yeah. And so I'm going to go on to their show in the next couple of months and talk about our work, UKMFA, and what he's particularly interested in the stuff we're doing opposing the church's response, because that is a missing piece of this whole thing. We've obviously got the COVID inquiry going on for what it's worth, but at least the politicians are being asked questions. But these hugely important institutions for actually setting a moral framework to society and giving another voice, like the church has been completely complicit when it went on and condoned what was happening, but then have been totally silent ever since about it. And I think that is a big issue, and we really need to keep pushing that one.
Absolutely. Going back to when you landed, what's the entry into Australia like? Did you have to have a visa beforehand?
Yeah. So no, I was suddenly worried I wouldn't get a visa. Do you remember Djokovic getting there and then being turned away at the border? But no, if you go for a short period of time, you get a visa instantly. It's almost automatic. You just put in your details. You don't have to put in too much detail, and then you just get it. So that was fine. But their border, they are absolutely paranoid about biological security. And it's all about fruit and vegetables and food and insects. So,
Right.
you kind of do the whole, it's very digital. Like, I think you're basically giving your facial ID and all of this away. I don't think there's any way. It's a bit like the American border in that way. So you get through that.
And the European one now, actually. Yes.
Yeah. But that wasn't so bad. I mean, that was very quick. But then you get your luggage. Then you have to go through the biological security, which I think they take even more seriously. You can't even take a banana or an apple off the plane, and you can be fined, imprisoned. So, there's lots of notices on the, announcements on the plane, please use the red bins if you've got any food left over in your hand luggage. They've got sniffer dogs there that, will sniff out if you've got something in your suitcase. And that was the time when I actually got my suitcase screened. So yeah, that felt like, okay, you definitely have a thing about germs and kind of, but no one really wearing masks. So that was good. So there's no sign of the sort of paranoia about COVID. Apart from the fact you do have to tick a lot of things in your immigration form that you fill in on the plane about that you haven't got a cough, you haven't got any infectious diseases. So again, it's all about trying to keep this place kind of pure.
I'm just wondering how many people tick the box to say they've got an infectious disease.
I know, well, exactly. I've just flown 24 hours across the world and I've started coughing, and I'm just going to tell you because then I'm going to have to go back.
It's been a little bit late by then. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's box ticking. That's a very important exercise. So yeah.
But yeah, before I move on to other things, I just wanted to show so it wasn't all work when I was there, just to show, just to make you all jealous, because it is grim here at the moment in England. So here are a couple of holiday snaps.
Oh my.
So that's the beach on the other side of the lighthouse. And that was literally when I arrived. And this is how I got over jet lag, because I'd landed first thing in the morning in Sydney, then jumped on a plane up to Byron, arrived there about, I don't know, 1-ish. But the weather is so beautiful that you just literally just get changed into your sort of, beach stuff. And I just went went straight down to the beach, and then the ocean was looking,
Oh,
actually, I mean, it doesn't look so scary there, but it's quite dangerous. There's loads of rips, but I could see about a mile down the beach a couple of flags. So I walked for miles, got to these two flags that were about probably only 10 meters apart, because with one lifeguard just sitting there, like with his eyes peeled into the sea, because you've obviously got the shark risk, you got the rip risk, you got the stingers, you got everything. And I just kind of just went and lay in the shallows, just like I'm in the ocean.
wonderful.
So
That's how to make an Englishman jealous. Yeah.
that is definitely,
Yeah.
yeah. So no jet lag going out, and then I've managed to crack it coming back as well, which I thought might be challenging coming back to a British winter. Do you want to know my secret?
Oh, we definitely want to know your secrets. Any secrets you want to give us are all fine. Yes. There's no one watching apart from about 1,000 people, so it's fine.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Okay, so this is tried and tested, and I've used it to go to the States, to over to California, and I've now used it. I think the hardest one I've done is Australia, because that's obviously 11 hours difference. The trick is to the minute you get on the plane, as soon as you're about to take off, you immediately turn your clock to the place you're going to. And from that moment on, you behave as if you are in that time zone. So I took off at 9 at night here. So obviously I was quite tired. It was almost my bedtime. But over there, it was 10 in the morning. Mm. So I knew that for that flight, I could only really afford to have a short nap and not do a normal night's sleep. So, I had my food, bedded down for a couple of hours, and then woke myself up, and I was like, right, so I've got to be really tired for the night flight, which was going to be the next flight. And then on the next flight, I made sure that the other thing you do is make sure you eat at the right times for your destination. So you refuse any meals that are going to be at the wrong time, like in the middle of the night, and you try to kind of get into a rough sort of breakfast, lunch, dinner for the place you're arriving. And so for the next one, I made sure that the little meal you had at the end of the first flight was going to be my breakfast, because that was the right time. And then as soon as I got on the next flight, it's going to be my dinner. And then I had to just go straight to sleep on the next flight and not engage with food. But you know what? It totally worked. By the time I got there, although I was a bit tired, I didn't feel like I was in the wrong sort of rhythm. Mm. And then you have to last to the end of the day as long as you can, and then go to bed, and you're so tired you sleep through till morning, and then that's it. You're done.
Perfect. Well, that's great. You should write that into a book and sell it, I think, or we should put it on the website or something so people can download the Liz Evans trick for jet lag. Because it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and melatonin. I mean, melatonin is helpful. So if you can get hold of that, you can't get hold of it easily in this country. You can buy it in America. And just take it at the time you want to go to sleep, which is the right time for that time zone. And do that for 2 or 3 nights. But yeah, so yesterday I landed at 5 a.m., having done 36 hours traveling, which was just insane. 3 flights. I was quite tired, but I managed to last till 8 o'clock yesterday evening, when I was literally like, went to bed, and I woke up at 6:30 this morning. So I'm like, yes.
Well, you look fine at the moment, but we don't know what's going to happen when we stop recording. You might just keel over.
Yeah. In fact, I thought, I can't believe it, but I'm really up for talking to Ian today. And
oh, bless you. And and now we've got everyone watching us as well, which is probably the first time they've watched one of our released videos, which is we're just smiling and laughing, which is it's probably about time, actually. We're going to do a lot more of these, I think.
Well, it's great. And because, I saw that when I was away, I saw your brilliant interview with Sarah Myhill, which is doing really well, I know. But that was also really positive news. I feel like this is going to be our year, Ian.
I think it is. And I think all of the work that we've done over the last few years is starting to pay off. And we can see a lot of the things that have been pushed by the authorities that we've been campaigning against are all starting to crumble. They're really not getting a hold anymore. No. There's a lot of pushback. And I even noticed a lot of the things. I was looking at a report today, which again I'll be reporting on as part of this medical ethics report, to do with guidance around puberty blockers and reaffirming children's rights against parents, on behalf of the UN, and which is all to do again with transgenderism and to do with abortion. And I've noticed they're not even trying to make it legislation. They're just calling it guidance now because they can't get it through as a legislative an element. They just can't do it. They haven't got the power behind them now, and I do think that a lot of this is starting to crumble.
Yeah, I think we reached peak insanity, didn't we?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and
but yeah, I think the gender. I mean, the whole puberty blocker trial thing. That's what I'm going to be focusing on over the next few months because we've got to try and stop that.
yeah.
It's so wrong.
And there was a poor Canadian lady that was euthanized against her wishes, which is absolutely terrible and tragic. But maybe again, that is something that opens people's eyes to just how despicable this can be.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully, her death is not going to be in vain because it's something that you can bring up as an actual fact. This really happened. This wasn't a scenario that someone made up. This really happened, and this is what can happen.
Yeah, I mean, Canada is an absolute prime example, isn't it, of why you don't have assisted
Yeah.
suicide. So I think there was because I saw that case that you mentioned, but then there was another case today of a 25-year-old man who was euthanized against his parents' wishes, all because he had type 1 diabetes and depression.
Mm.
So he wasn't terminally ill.
No.
And yeah, it was absolutely, but the family had no say, and that's just devastating.
But
That is care.
this is why it's going to be our year. You started it well. We've had a big win for Sarah. It's so pleasing. And
Yeah.
there's some tragedies, but they're waking people up. They're opening people's eyes, and that's what we need.
Yeah.
People are changing their minds about things, but people defecting from one party to another because they've had enough, and their eyes are being opened. And you just hope that this is a positive thing. I'm gripping and holding on, with fingernails, hoping that this is true. But maybe we've got something really important starting to happen, and finally the word is getting through.
Yeah, and I think as Sarah said on the podcast, we want to really go up against the GMC. I think speaking to all of these international doctors, I think the regulators are, one of the biggest pieces in this because they are so corrupted that they are the ones that are stopping doctors and nurses working for the benefit of their patient, having proper autonomy, patient-centered care, medical ethics, informed consent. It's like, if we could just take down the regulators or hold them accountable, and stop them, basically causing these doctors to not be able to do their jobs.
Yeah, and that's it. That's in our little sphere over there, but exactly the same thing is happening there over here with the police, and over here with the military, and over here with the government, and over here with the civil service, and everywhere you've got the same thing going on, and they're all starting to be showing up and starting to crumble.
Yeah.
And it's positive. It's good news.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for sharing your experience. It's heartening and exciting, and let's do more of that. It's good.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you for having me on, Ian.
No worries. And thank you everybody for coming in and sharing our little happy start to the year. And please stick with us. Tell your friends. And if you can find, do you know what I had a thought actually, Liz, and I'm going to do this sort of while we're talking live to our audiences. But if everybody just gave us £1 for every video you watched, just £1. Don't worry about 2 or 3, or even buy us a coffee, which can be £4 something. I think if it was just £1, it would really help us to succeed. Because we've had 1,000 people view, or over 1,000 people view Sarah's video with me. If we had £1 from everyone that saw it, and that's just on the YouTube channel, that would really help. I mean, I know it's not we can't survive on that sort of money, to be honest, but it really helps. So just a little bit would make all the difference. Just jump.
Definitely. And just full disclosure, not a penny of UKMFA money funded my trip. It was all self-funded. So
I know the money's not there, so you wouldn't have been able to get it anyway.
yeah, but we're not going off on jollies to Australia. That was all came out of my own bank account.
No, I can't even go to a jolly to the local cafe on the money that we've got right now. But that we don't mind. We do it for love because we need to get the word out, and we don't want to tarnish it with too much money. We just need some operating costs. That's all. That's
yeah, and just a chance to really, because we could fund our social media a bit better, so we could get a wide, because there's a lot you can do if you've got a bit of cash, to actually increase your reach, and do more projects, get more people writing for us. If we could just give them a little bit of pocket money every time, because people don't have acres of spare time like we did during lockdowns and during the whole COVID period.
And to be honest, even the likes and subscriptions on our media channels, if you watch, say, YouTube, why don't jump onto Rumble and sign up there as well, right? And go on to Odyssey and sign up there, and then go on to the audio one and sign on there. You don't have to watch them and listen to them all, but the fact that you subscribe to them all means that our numbers go up, and then we then get some advertising revenue in from YouTube. So once we get to a certain level of views, then we'll start to get some income from them. So that would be really helpful. It costs you absolutely nothing. You just click on the subscribe button and then move on. But that's really helpful. So.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Lots of love to everyone that's watching, and Happy New Year. It's still January, so I'm going to say it anyway. And see you all soon. Take care.
Thanks, Ian.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.